Howdy, yo! How we doing? Nice to see you. Actually, quite a few more people than I was expecting today. That is tremendous to see. We're actually running on a bit of a tight schedule today. Had quite a few bits to deal with over the past week, as well as some bits that I'm going to have to manage over the next few days. So unfortunately, my availability with regards to getting the live set up has been a bit limited. Can I just quickly check, just give us a thumbs up in the chat, or just a quick holler, say if you can hear me all right? Everything's coming through all good? Yeah, I'm just going to periodically check to see if we've got anyone coming in as well. But as stated, and as those of you know who've been able to attend at this moment, we're actually running an hour earlier today. That'll be because at 7 o'clock, cheers Mo, thank you very much. And at 7 o'clock, I'm actually going to have to shoot and head off into town to go and support the mighty Dazza, Daryl Mattin, who's got his first show tonight at Hotbox. Feel extremely honoured and privileged to be able to have been privy to him building up his set for tonight. And so obviously when I go and say support, I mean obviously just to go and show support. The guy's been putting a crap load of work and effort into his set. So yeah, really excited to see that later on tonight. I don't think there's anyone from Chelmsford in the chat, but like, so my advert may be falling on dead ears, but that is actually the reason tonight for the like for the stream sort of taking place a little bit earlier. So yeah, because of the past week or so my intention was to basically get started rebuilding the live set, if you will, over the weekend. And unfortunately, yeah, without going into detail, there's a few things that cropped up. I wasn't really able to get round to doing such, you know, to actually getting the live set sort of stripped and rebuilt, at least even to a certain extent. But what I have been doing in the few moments that I have had spare is just working a little bit more on some of the new tracks that I want to put in. So those of you who were here last week, which I think accounts for everybody in this stream right now, is we looked at the old live set. We looked at the live set that I played at Radio City Social last year, as well as the Ballroom in Canterbury. And it might seem a little bit too hasty that, like, you know, we've only played 2 sets with those tracks, like, but even with those even with those sets like in the bank, there was quite a few bits of it that I just already wasn't really too keen on. We debated and discussed last week about the placement of certain tracks, like the introduction or whatnot, and just what potential impact they could have had, like, you know, just sort of sorted as to what you know, tracks I was keen on, what bits I liked of the set, what bits of the set I didn't like. And yeah, so we just had a quick rundown from it. It's almost like a little mini live showing around itself, and hopefully what I'd like to do, what my plan is over the course of the next few weeks, because obviously this is all building up. I say obviously, I think it's obvious to everyone in the chat at least, that what we're building up towards is a show again at Radio City Social on the 20th of April. So yep, the mighty Radio City Social have been ever so kind enough to offer us another gig. This time as part of their Reskin Promotions event, which, like, as I've mentioned on some of the socials earlier. I'm really, really excited to see what they're going to be able to churn out over the next, hopefully, the next few years. Because those of you who aren't familiar with Chelmsford, it's been quite a while since we've had quite a bustling live scene, so to speak, a bustling live scene for music at least. Like I'm talking about like pre 2019. Whilst growing up, we had a few good spots. We had the Y, we had the Box, we had quite a few different venues that were able to facilitate some really, really class events. But I think it just felt like Chelmsford was becoming more and more gentrified over the course of a few years, whereas in the last year or so, basically the last 5 years, really, has really sort of picked up with the forming of the Hotbox venue, and then a few years after that, Radio City Social as well. From my perspective, with regards to being an electronic music producer, there has been the Resonance Nights over at Hotbox, which have basically been a community-driven producers hang, if you will. Like, you know, we show up, we bring our music, we show it to each other, and what we formed is quite a nice tight-knit community of solid music producers in Chelmsford. And what I believe Reskin is in favour of, or at least it might be that Radio City Social is hosting a separate night to back this, is that like they want to do the same thing for bands. So for local bands that are starting up, to basically everyone come along, there's going to have you know, things set up to be able to really sort of build a community around young rock bands, or old rock bands, any rock bands pretty much. If I've got that right, then it sounds like a really exciting prospect. If I haven't, all the same, still sounds like quite an exciting prospect, even just to have quite an active interest in live music back in Chelmsford again. So yeah, with regards to that coming up, as I said, I'm going to be playing live on the 20th of April as part of the Reskin promotions. And one of the aims that I have for that, as we've been discussing, is the complete redoing of the live set. So like the complete revamp of the original live set that we once had. So as I said last week, we went through the old set, and my intention this week was to have a little bit more of that live set set up and ready to go. Unfortunately, I haven't had a chance to even get to that live set, to even start stripping it down or whatnot. Looks like it's going to be pretty tricky to do. It might even be pretty tricky for me to do over the course of this weekend coming up, but I'm quite faithful that there's going to be some opportunities that present themselves that leave me in a much better position, so to speak, for our stream next week. But that does leave us a little bit of odds with what we're going to be doing today. So I figured a cool little thing to look through is just have a little quick breakdown of some of the tracks that I do want in the set. So last week we went over some of the tracks that I didn't want, in particular the introduction. Those of you that are familiar with my EPs, I have an EP, my latest, no, actually the second to latest EP, The Only Way Out Is Through. And one of the like songs that started that off was like a quite soft piano piece that then led into the first track. Wasn't really a fan of that going into the live sets, but it was the closest thing I had to build up like an introduction or whatnot. So like I've that was the first thing I've been looking forward to, just being able to gut completely. If I could just wait a second. Natalie, how's it going? All good? Just so you're aware, we're currently streaming live on YouTube and on Twitch. There is a link in my bio that will be able to give you the link to join either one or the other. No logins required for either. If you fancy seeing or hearing what we're hearing, it would be good to see you there. Catch you in a bit. So yeah, I'll cut the faff. We might, hopefully we don't have to cut the podcast too short today. Or the podcast stream, whichever. Emily, what is happening? Good to see you. Glad you're able to make the hour early today. Obviously I was hoping I weren't going to inconvenience too many people by having to jump in an hour early, but good to see you again. We're literally just discussing about what we talked about last week, the live set, and basically I'm going to spend this session just going over some of the stuff that I'm wanting to put into the new one. So this is a track that has been assisted by my very good friend Saroon Sahagan over and Saroon Solly. Oh, my apologies. So just figured back time back before you was married. Saroon Solly, she was very kind enough to send me over some vocal samples, which I had a little tinker with. Now you might have to bear with us on this track because it's currently in the mixing phase. It's demanding quite a lot of CPU. So like, fingers crossed. Do you remember last time we looked at this little percentage symbol up here? If it starts getting to about 70 or whatnot, we're in the danger zone. So hopefully we're able to sort of keep it within a certain boundary. And I'm just going to let it play. Let's see if I'll let it play for like one point through, see if I can make some commentary, and then we'll have a look at some of the specific sections. And hopefully we'll have some time after to probably have a look at some of the other tracks that I'm wanting to include. So I'll let Saroon take it away. Once again, just keep us posted on the volume of some of these tracks coming through. If either the music's too loud or I'm too loud, just make sure to give us a shout in the chat. So you can see here, this little section here is where this entire sound wave here was the original sample that Saroon sent through. And what I did was just cut that up into little sections and use it to make its own little backing piece. And for the record, Saroon, absolutely the best voice in the game going right now. Out of everyone I've ever heard, everyone I've ever met, everyone who I've been fortunate enough to meet in my lifetime with regards to music, Saroon, you are above and beyond chef's kiss when it comes to vocals. And so we've got quite a nice build here. Cheers for the shouts, Emily. James, all good, brother? You know where you're headed. Phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal chops there, Saroon. And so I'm still debating on where to put a lot of these tracks, as to whether I want certain tracks at the beginning, at the end. Hopefully, I think that's something that we'll look at next week, is placement. But I absolutely want to include this track in the set coming up, and for subsequent sets that are coming. I think this track felt like a step in a whole new direction of where I want to take my live music and live set going forward. Connor, good to see you, my man. Nice to see you on stream. So we're just listening to one of my latest tracks. No, not released just yet. Can't actually give you a time frame on when it's going to be released, but if you want to hear this live, Radio City Social, 20th of April. Be amazing to see you there and be amazing to catch up with as many of you as possible. Still so much of this track that I want to work on, but I did feel that like if I had to put this track in just as it was right now, it would still do the trick. It just wouldn't be up to the standard that I'm particularly happy with. But I'm very happy with the direction that this track is going in at the moment, and I'm very excited way more excited to see how it goes down live, because I think it's going to go down a treat. So I am just going to stop it there, just because I don't know if some of you noticed it was airing on the side of about 70% there, as I've established. Like the CPU does have a habit of going a bit haywire when too many things are going on, and this is what happens when the track is in a particular place, when there's like towards the climax of the track. Obviously there's so much going on that it's just going to drive my CPU mad. So apologies again. With enough prep for this stream today, this is something that I probably would have been on top of, but I just unfortunately didn't have the time to do so. Hente, good to see you, my man. All good. And yes, very much trance here. So as I was saying during that track, this is actually one that like I think might be shaping a particular direction that I want to be taking the tracks in. So yeah, hopefully that's sounding good. I'm much appreciated for all the support. Hente has pretty much been my main Donny when it comes to Twitter, but I have been getting quite a lot of support from there in particular, especially from the Gooners. So big up the Arsenal. Apologies to those who aren't Arsenal fans in this chat. I'm probably going to be hearing back on that one later. For the record, not a football fan. Not really a fan of any sport that doesn't involve people getting punched in the face. But yes, I'm sure that won't save me any vitriol from non-gooners later on down the line. So we'll leave it at that. So just looking at a few particular points in the track, what should we look at? I mean, we've pretty much got the drums. Quite a firm kick with this one, firmer than some of the other ones that we've done. One of the new techniques I've started including is actually what's called a ghost hi-hat. So it's just a hi-hat that doesn't have any of the clarity of a normal hi-hat. In fact, if we were to turn these off, you would actually be able to hear that without the effects, it's just a regular hi-hat. But if we turn them on, I don't quite like how saturated the sound is. So what I mean by saturated is distorted. Some of you might be able to hear how that signal is peaking at the top. Something again that I want to look at during the mixing phase. Just a problem. Like these are the sort of things that I run into whilst mixing a track. Is okay, this track doesn't particularly sound how I want it to on its own. What's causing that issue? At a glance, I can't quite tell. It might have something to do with the saturation. But as you turn that off, it's still there. But again, that's technical mumbo jumbo, not quite here or there. One of the things that I'm looking to implement into many more of my tracks as well is just these little percussive elements that have incredibly long tails. So what I mean by that is, have we got that? So like by tail, whenever I mention a tail, it's to do with the effect of reverb and delay, so that a particular sound, as soon as it occurs, suddenly then like transitions on longer than the original sound had in its information. So if we just turn some of those off, in fact, got to try and figure out what is actually causing the sound to begin with. So that's going to be that. So I do wonder. No. Well, I think it's buried somewhere in here, but basically there will be a bunch of effects that is making them ring out longer than they usually would. Really nice for just filling out some of the space, really, especially in those high frequencies, if I play it in context. Just sits there in the back, gives it a little bit more character, a little bit more atmosphere. We have some other elements such as the bass. I'm actually having a few issues with the bass at the moment, as you can see by this other layer just underneath it. I'm actually getting some clipping, I think, from my own CPU. So again, if the sound is coming across a little bit coarse, a little bit rough for you guys, just make sure you let us know in the chat, and I'll see if I can adjust that. Otherwise, hoping it's going all good. So yeah, well, we've got this bass line. We've got this one bass line that's currently taking care of everything, but the only problem with having one of these elements for bass, so you can see I've made this group here because I'm intending to actually make the sub bass that sits underneath all this. Usually because of the frequency spectrum that we've discussed before, if I bring this up, you can see that some of these elements of the bass are cut off. So all of this section down here has been isolated. All the section up here has been taken out of the mix. I think actually it might be in this channel here where it's a little bit more concise. Yeah, so basically what we want to try and do with bass is cut off this section here, this low rumble down the bottom. I might be able to solo that. So can you hear that? Can you hear that low rumble that we pretty much call sub? We want to separate that from the upper part of the mix. Probably not the best example to show like the whole spectrum, but we want to basically cut and separate those two from each other. So again, that's going to be something else I'm working with. I actually just going to get straight to the meat of this track because the rest of it's pretty meat and potatoes, but obviously I think the big draw of this track and something that I want to explore a lot more further is Saroon's majestic vocals on this track. So again, if I just bring this up, it might be easier to explain. So where I've got this sampler down here, how I came up with this track was basically I don't know if I can actually just play this, but I don't know if you can see. I'm just going to posit the camera around. Let me just see what I'm looking at. So every time I play a key, every time it plays a different part of the sample. So for a bit of context there as well, as I said, Saroon was very kind enough to send this over to me. I did ask to see if there was like any random acapellas that she might have handy or whatnot. Just something for me to mess around with. And Saroon went above and beyond the call of duty pretty much. And yeah, just sent me over this long files. I think it's 3 different files worth of different oohs and ahs and different sounds and effects, like pretty much all just from her voice. And I was just like, wow, I just couldn't believe, like literally just from the most sort of humble of requests, like, you know, was able to just gift me with like all of these different vocal a cappella or one hits that are just enough to keep me busy for months, I reckon. So I mean, like, this is just one track that's pretty much come of it. I'm sure that once I start getting around to some of the others, that will be absolute magic. So I mean, hopefully we'll be able to facilitate it live one day. So fingers crossed. We'll see how that all works out. But for now, an idea of how this all happens is, so just from playing random keys, you can see how it's reacting on the actual synthesizer down here at the bottom, that I'm like able to sort of orchestrate the combination of different samples together to be able to make a melody that pretty much carries throughout the whole track. So as we discussed before, this is the main hook. Pretty much the whole crux of the track, the whole thing lives and dies by this particular hook. But then like switches over during the like I'd say a chorus section, even though like with electronic music it's a little bit different in regards to typical song structure. But in terms of the track building up, there's a little less hesitation with regards to her vocals and allowing a bit more of the punchiness to come through. With regards to the sections in between, so like this is where I've just let Saroon go to town pretty much. Like there's going to be a few of those moments in this track as well. So like what we call the interval going in between. So just checking over here. Dan, how's it going? Oh, no, he's already gone. So there's a few bits here where I've tried to time stretch certain elements of the track to fit in this middle section. I'm gonna have to do a little bit more tinkering with that as well, I think, but that's something that I'm actually learning how to do myself. It's going to be quite hard to explain because I've not really mastered the concept on my own, but maybe if I just like, if you see when I move certain elements here, it actually makes, you can see in this section here as well, like how the track gets smaller, larger, depending on where I move it. So what I want to do is try to manipulate the length of the vocals so that it fits in time with the tempo of the song, with the beat of the song. I actually have this there's another section here where vocals come in, sort of like one hits, bit of flavor, bit of ear candy that sits on top of the main vocal melody if I cue those in with each other. So even though we've got our main vocal section, we've got a little few hits behind that for flavour, and underneath that as well. So this whole middle section that we had beforehand, we actually have our vocals coming in with the rest of the vocals as well. I think together this just sounds phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal, and like literally taking zero credit for that as well. Saroon just knocking it out of the bloody ballpark pretty much. Another nice little addition here is just to sort of build into that particular section is a reverse sample. And that sounds like it's being played going forward as well, almost the same, but it's pretty much just this section that we're listening to now completely done in reverse. So like this section right here, we can actually just reverse that quick. Okay, didn't like that, so I'm just going to put that back. But you can even see by the waveforms how like one just has mirrored the other. If we just listen to that back, this is playing in reverse, and it just doesn't sound it at all, but it leads straight into that vocal chop. In context of the rest of the track, you can just hear it coming in slightly, coming in quietly. Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely cannot wait for this track to be played live. So I'm just going to have a look at some of the other sections that we've got going here. This whole section here that says waves, this is something that I've been dabbling with recently. Is like basically ear candy. Some of you might have seen the reel that I uploaded that basically goes to deliver a little bit of extra flavor to the tracks. So if I give a bit of context over here, if trying to remember what the original sample of this was. So if I just turn some of these off. So it's pretty much just the lead part. So if we listen to the lead part here, and so this is, and to be fair as well, this lead is actually a new one of mine. Like it was a preset, a tutorial that I followed on YouTube for like a trancey sort of lead sound. And I think it just sounds phenomenal. I've pretty much every new track I've made within the last 3 months that hasn't been released yet. I have actually got a release window for these tracks. But I've started including them in pretty much everything I do. I'm just in love with this lead sound. But what we've done is basically taken that lead sound. So as I stated in this sound here, sort of build it up a little bit, but you can hear the volumes come down quite a fair bit, but that's because I've actually filtered it through this plugin here, which is called Effect Rack. It's this little darling here called a crystallizer. So basically this whole synthesizer, this whole VST, so VST is like an effects plugin, a synthesizer, basically any sort of electronic music equipment that you're going to be using on a DAW, a digital audio workstation. So like I'm using Ableton here. This is a myriad of different effects. Over here we've got filters, we've got reverbs under the name of Echo Boy. Decapitator, which I want to get my hands on, is just a distortion, to give things a little bit of sharpness, a little bit of clarity. These are just all sort of effects that you can pretty much get within Ableton, within any sort of digital audio workstation that you're using. But the quality, the Sound Toys quality is just insane, absolutely next level. Radiator, this one right here, I've actually had a lot of success with in some of the other tracks that I've been working on recently. The only problem I've run in so far with this particular effect rack, Sound Toys effect rack, is it is very CPU intensive. It's very powerful. So I was actually speaking with a good friend of mine, Chris, for the Resonance Group, with regards to what I need to do in order to make this run a little bit smoother. We did have a conversation about it I think it was quite a few months ago now, to be fair. I might bring him up for that later on tonight. In fact, yeah, Chris is actually just there in the chat, as well as Sarah. How's it going? All good? Chris, get your ass in the chat and help me out here with Sound Toys. Literally, like we've just been talking about exactly that, man. So yeah, that'll be good. See what's happening. Just check the chat real quick. Yep, good shout, Hente. So Echo. Yeah, no, that's just it. Is that like without the effects, it does actually sound quite nice on its own. Again, that'll pretty much just be this effect right here, but with this one in particular, the crystallizer takes what you've been able to record before and just basically embellish it, sort of like add layers of reverb whilst also pitch shifting. So yeah, it really is. I really want to spend some time getting familiar with this effect rack, but we've spent quite a lot of time on that already. We've got some other ear candy here as well. Very similar again. I think this time though, even if we just leave out the effects, I think it is basically just a recording of that crystallizer that we had before. So I'm just going to leave that on there anyways. And yeah, just for some more effects. Not very audible in a total mix right now, but as I stated, like, because this is still in the mixing phase, there's still quite a lot of work that I want to do with that. I think just, yeah, that covers where I've pretty much got with it so far. Some of these aren't really necessarily worth going into just yet. But yeah, I think we'll have a look at some of the other tracks that I want to include. Think we might have a bit of an issue loading these up, but let's give it a go. Let's give it a go at least. So yeah, I hope everyone in the chat's doing good. We haven't got anybody in the Insta lobby, which is fine. We've got about another half hour left. So we'll try not to make this too tight a squeeze. As I say, this is just a preview of one track that I want to be playing beforehand. As to when it's going to be released, so I do actually have a bit of a different perspective with regards to how I'm going to be going towards release schedules going forward. Much to the chagrin of some of you guys, as I'm sure you enjoy being able to get new music as soon as possible, pretty much. Unfortunately, for what might be best with regards to growth, might not be saving everything for one bulk release. Evidently, I've just released a EP on Spotify, Seraphim, which some of you may have heard already. There's also going to be a few tracks from that EP that I'm going to be playing at the live show. I'm going to be replacing some of those tracks that I had in the last set. Oh, bloody hell. Right, I'm having a look at this over here just quick, and I'm not liking the look of that. So hope you guys can forgive me. I'm not even going to bother trying to play this track in Ableton. I'm actually just going to close Ableton for now because I think it's going to cause me a little bit too much grief. I'm going to bring this over. And I think what we're going to do instead is we're going to see... I'll just go into my demos folder. I should have some of them as WAV files. So I'm going to let this play through, just like a bit of commentary on the side. As I said, I think having a deep dive on some of these tracks at the moment isn't going to be possible just because of the CPU usage. So I hope you guys are all right with that. I hope you guys have enjoyed today's podcast. Keep calling it podcast, stream, whichever. You might be listening to it later on down the line anyways. Hopefully it doesn't appear too rushed, a little bit too slapdash put together. Unfortunately, time hasn't really been on my side this past week or weekend, or at least the time that I thought I might have free. So I'm hoping that there's going to be a lot more prepped and ready for next week. The aim of these few live streams leading up to the Radio City Social gig on the 20th is to break down the original set, take out some of the parts that I wasn't too happy with, and just replace them with some of the material I've been working on recently. So yeah, without further ado, I'll let this track play out. So this track's called Bad Habit, and it's a track that I've been working on. It's actually technically the first remix I've been working on. All I'm hoping is that because this is actually going to be uploaded to YouTube, that it doesn't actually land me in any trouble yet, because I haven't actually been cleared to play it. But hopefully this is the one part where low viewership or low fan retention actually works out in favor for me. What you guys are hearing is an exclusive sneak preview of the first remix I've done. So I'll let it play out for a little bit. Basically how I've gone about the vocals, I won't spoil who it is. I'll see if anybody in the chat is actually quick enough to recognize which band I'm remixing here. If any of you guys want a hint already, the name of the track is actually the name of the original as well. But yeah, so the trick is that I've pretty much extracted the vocals using an AI vocal separator, and with that basically been able to include the vocals in the track, but the vocal quality unfortunately isn't of a standard that I'm happy with, or maybe some of you might be more happy with. But what you might be hearing in this track already is, again, some of the effects that we touched on in that last track. The lead line, that's obviously the repeating motif throughout. Some of the effects toys plugins at the back there, basically like embellishing the sounds. Checking on Insta. Yeah, so again, quite a nice build here. Everything like drops out, and the vocals will be coming in sharpish. I want to include more vocals in the finished version, but again, it's a question of whether I can tastefully include the bits of the vocal samples that come before in the track and it still sound good. But what I'd love to do really is request the original vocal stems, and hopefully the people who made this track would be happy for me to use it. So they're actually coming up. As I say, if you guys can actually figure out whose vocals they are, who the band are, then yeah, like, just give us a drop in chat. This is the first time I'm actually streaming from my audio desktop, so please let me know if you guys can actually hear what's going on. But yeah, I think here we go. Any guesses in the chat? See if you can hear here. The vocals aren't that clear at all. It's because of having to extract them from the original song. But I think for a bit of tinkering, I might be able to get them a bit higher in the mix. A bit more clarity. Again, another one that I'm looking forward to being able to play live. And especially this part with regards to guitar playing. Nice one, Connor. Glad you liked it, man. I think something that I really enjoy doing. I'll let this play out. And so for those who are guessing, that was Foles with Bad Habit. The Juan Stone remix. So I hope you enjoyed. So one of the things that I really enjoy bringing to the table, especially with regards to live performance, is the guitar playing. So a lot of the stuff I've been writing recently, besides the EP that I've just released, is quite centered around a lack of guitar playing, if you will, like a lot of trance leads, a lot of like trance backgrounds or whatnot. And I mean, if you watch a lot of these live sets, so like Tomorrowland live sets or Anjuna live sets or whatnot, there's such a heavy emphasis on the visuals that's happening behind it. And I think just on the basis that there isn't really much happening on the stage, there isn't really much to get your teeth sunk into with regards to performing. It's just some prick at a table spinning decks with one hand on the headphones, just going like, you know, lifting one. It's like, you know, basically making it like that. They could literally be doing anything up there. So that level of investment of just watching one person up on a stage with a laptop just is like pretty much non-existent. So I want to try and include as much more guitar playing as possible, especially with that little lead part at the end there. This is another track that I'm hoping to include in the set. Oh, some Seal in the voice, man. Like, let's say close. I've never actually thought of Foles with Seal before, to be fair, but that's actually a pretty good shout, man, with regards to like range, I'd say as well, man. He's able to really hit some gravelly lows, but some incredible highs. So yeah, no, good shout on there, at least anyways. I'll hopefully after like showing you guys the Saroon track as well as this track, vocals is pretty much the next part of the plan to get involved in all of my music, really. I've never really toyed with it before. I'm absolutely not toying with doing any of my own vocals. As I said about Saroon, I've also been very fortunate enough to work with some incredible vocalists during the years that I was actively involved in music, and I think it would just be robbing away every ounce of potential that another vocalist, a real skilled vocalist, can bring to the table if I was just caving and saying that, oh no, actually I'll take care of the vocals. So that does come up quite a bit, but no, for the record, I've got virtually zero interest in learning singing or vocals. For now, I'd rather just work with professionals who are able to really bring these to life. So just having a look at what else I've got here. I think the only other track, so like we'll touch on some of the tracks that I've just released. So this is the track that I actually want to start the set with, I think. Yeah. So this is where it will start getting interesting with regards to rehearsals or whatnot. I'll get much more of a feel for what works in certain parts of the set and what doesn't. So I think I still want to balance out the trancier, more electronic tracks with some of the more somber, guitar heavy, ambient soundscapes that I've always enjoyed playing. Like, you know, it's pretty much my bread and butter getting into this game, and I certainly want to keep that strong going forward. I might make a few changes to this track. For one, I might not make it as long as it is, but I feel like it sort of hits that similar tone that the last piano piece did with regards to introducing the set. I think it also includes a little bit more involvement. Obviously, there's guitar playing right from the get-go. So I think I'm going to be starting out with this track. And as to which track I follow it up with, I don't think it's going to be one of the vocal tracks. It might even be the track that we made on live stream a few weeks ago. It's probably this time last month. So if some of you in the chat weren't familiar with what we did the last few months in the stream, I basically made a track from scratch. And it actually ended up working out quite a lot better than I expected it to. Far better. To the extent that I am actually doing some work on it at the moment. Not as much work as the other tracks that we've shown in the stream, but enough that there's definitely going to be some use for it down the line. And for sure, I think there's going to be a release on that track happening in the near future as well. So as I say, I think this track, I don't think it's going to go on as long as it has right here, but we're going to be leading this into some of the other parts of the set. So if we have a look at what else we have here, this is definitely one that I want to be including in the set. Some of you guys might have heard me promoting it recently, the song Chance the Contributor. Very much paying respects to Boards of Canada. Very old school, like 90s, early 2000s. I guess you could say like sort of trip hop. Similar in the vein to Massive Attack and like other bands with similar ilk. But just with this emphasis on really old tape recorded, reel to reel, almost like public service announcement sort of videos, but like that sort of creepiness that they inherently have with being filmed at the time that they was. I've tried to implement a bit of that into some of the music that I made recently. So yeah, pretty much tracks like these, track like this one, and tracks like I played before, like so as I say, the Saroon singing track as well as the Bad Habit remix I'll be wanting to include in there. I'm just trying to think of other things to go over. So the setup with regards to my guitar playing is hopefully going to be a lot more on point this time around than it was the last time. Those of you who weren't aware, the last time I played at Radio City Social, the effects pedal that I've pretty much had ever since I was in high school ended up blowing up on me. I actually have it right here. If you guys can see, I'll just make sure to get the camera up quick. This is my Boss ME50. So this is a multi-effects pedal. I've actually had this ever since I was about 14, 15 years old. I actually, bit of random trivia. It's really random trivia for you guys, but some of the people around here, I actually got this on the same day that I started playing World of Warcraft. How about that? Like that's really a bit of random info, but yeah, like really weird that two big parts of my upbringing basically happened on the same day. But yeah, this piece of kit, you can even see the Office World sticker there. Can you guys have a little pictures? Didn't come with the original packaging, but like we ended up getting it attached, you know, in its infancy. But this is my baby from about 2004 to about 2000 and probably about 2013. I think I would just like use it quite often, but I think for the last 10 years it's basically gathered dust. So trust it to completely fall to pieces the morning of the actual show itself. So to replace that, I've actually got, rather than investing in a large pedal, I've got myself quite a small one this time. This is called the Slow Reverb pedal. Some of you might have heard it in some of the reels that I've been putting out recently, just with regards to reverb, giant echoey sound. But also I've ordered, it hasn't arrived yet, it might not actually arrive in time for the gig, but a rat distortion. So that might be food for some of you tech heads out there, but just basically I've managed to get myself an exclusive reverb and an exclusive distortion pedal. And hopefully that will mean that I won't need to scurry around like a madman trying to find a replacement pedal for the show that's going to be happening later on in the evening. But I think on that note, because I'm sort of running a bit dry on more things to talk about, and I'd rather not waste everybody's time just faffing and randomly getting discussing bits about the upcoming set. So I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you all enjoyed today's session. Again, I really appreciate all of you guys for showing up and for the patience that you've had with regards to looking through some of these tracks. I hope you've enjoyed them. Hope you enjoyed listening to them. And yeah, basically still just building up towards the gig coming up in a few weeks time. So yeah, on that note, I'm going to shoot down the hot box now. If any of you guys are in Chelmsford, fancy coming to see some quality electronic music, some of the up and comers, then please feel free to rock on by, and yeah, it'll be good to see you there. But otherwise, until next week, when hopefully I'll have a little bit more to show for the live stream itself. Have a good one. Take care, and we'll catch up soon. Thanks again, guys. All the best.